Representative Attorney Jesse Weinberg.
Thank you so much. I
don't see it.
suggested during some of the earlier announcements that we announce the fact that food was about to be served.
Well, we moved over here.
And it looks like everybody who was on the exterior is now at the interior. Give yourselves a hand, because we would not want any of your coal. And if there are any others out there, if you're not at least at your table to claim your seat, your plate is going to go to the person who is sitting closest to your empty seat. So the only way you can preserve your meal is to come in right now, and hopefully you, like I had to do, can look at the back of your badge to know what table you are seated at. And we have to give a whole lot of thanks to the Association of Women and Minority Business Enterprise for making this possible. So give that organization a hand, as well as its leader and founder, Irene Reyes. The Washington Equity Now Alliance is proud to be a partner and a sponsor of this event, as we were last year, and I believe the year before. Those of you who heard the mention of Washington Equity Now Alliance, just a little bit of information about that organization. It is the statewide organization that fights for equity in Washington State. So you're probably not going to see us too often in the cities or the counties or the school districts, but you will find us ever present in Olympia, working with the legislature and the governor on issues that pertain to including all of us in this journey of economic opportunity in Washington State. How many of you have been in Washington State long enough to have heard of I-200 that killed affirmative action in Washington State? Hopefully, I'm going to ask for a show of hands again. How many of you heard of I-1000 that came more recently, gathered over 300,000 signatures to overturn I-200, and then ended with the governor, in this case, Governor Inslee's signature, restoring affirmative action in Washington State? That effort was led by Washington Equity Now Alliance. We've done a number of other statewide initiatives as well. The most recent you just heard about, and that is we are fighting for something that is long overdue, and that is reparations for descendants of victims of U.S. chattel slavery. We're not the first state to take the lead on that. California has already done their study, passed their legislation, and Governor Gavin Newsom has already signed into law the first bureau in United States history that will provide descendants of victims of U.S. chattel slavery the resources to search their genealogy and to connect their lineage from wherever they are in California all the way to the South, down through the history, to connect with those ancestors who not only provided labor at no cost to the planters or the slave owners, but who were there in 1776, since we're talking about celebrating the 250th anniversary of the United States of America. It was the slave labor economy that funded the American Revolution. It was the slave labor economy that funded funds that were sent out here to start the Washington and Oregon Territory, that financed the beginnings of Washington State. And so even though some people say, well, Washington was not a state during slavery, there were slaves here. And I would only ask you at the appropriate time, when you have a spare moment, to Google Charles Mitchell. How many of you have heard of Charles Mitchell? And I'm not talking about the Husky standout who went on to play for the Denver Broncos. That's kind of my generation. Charles Mitchell was a slave that was enslaved in Maryland, but brought out to Washington State. And at 13 years old, he broke the chains of slavery and went to Canada to seek his freedom. His slave master, James Tiplin, actually pursued him, and there is a case that was an international case between Canada and the United States over Charles Mitchell. Charles Mitchell was considered property of Mr. Tiplin, and the Canadian chancellor, who was the judge, ruled that any person who stepped foot on Canadian soil, which had eliminated slavery in 1840, well before this trial that was in 1860, any person who escaped the United States and stepped foot on Canadian soil was therefore a free person. And that's how Charles Mitchell achieved his freedom, the first slave from Washington State to do so. And so we are moving with the vigor and inspiration of a young Charles Mitchell to make sure that the descendants of victims of slavery like his are going to be compensated not by Washington State tax dollars, but by the federal government that instituted slavery in the first place. And so we invite you to come to WINA, WAEquityNow.org. We meet every Saturday at 7 a.m. I know already some of you checked, okay, I'm not doing that one. But it's virtual, so you can be still with your pillow at 7 in the morning and get engaged. We have a good time. And so we invite all of you to become a part of WINA. And even if you're a member of an organization like AWMB, you can become one of the alliance members of WINA and be a part of this fight. The latest chapter on this is that a study has already been approved by the legislature on reparations in Washington State. It is underway right now, and we led that effort with the help of Senator Bob Hasagawa to get the funding that we needed. Pierce County, where we sit now, has already become a partner in that funding, thanks to Reverend Lim Charleston. King County is also a partner. Snohomish County is becoming a partner. And so before you know it, you're going to be seeing all of these victories move in the direction of achieving the ultimate freedom, and that is economic freedom for the descendant of victims of U.S. chattel slavery. Many of you have already been a part of it. Please give yourselves a hand. Okay, so now it is my pleasure to get us started with a prayer. And I want to make sure that as the minister is getting ready, that you have a chance to meet the person who is responsible for all of this, and that is the leading founder of Association of Women and Minority Businesses. Irene is a locomotive. Irene Reyes does this as a volunteer because she owns her own business. She's going to tell you her journey of how she became a certified woman and minority-owned business, but without her energy and commitment, not to her own business, but to increase the number of businesses and business owners that are out there who are women, who are people of color, this organization would not exist. And so we are proud to have AWMB as an alliance member of WINA, and I am proud to bring to the stage the founder of AWMB, Irene Reyes. Give it up for Irene.